Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Teran Peterson.
You're listening to the Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way.
Hey, Teran.
Hi.
How are you
How's it
doing?
going?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Another day,
It is
another day.
It's beautiful out. I mean, it's
It
like
is.
40 degrees in Wisconsin in the winter. I love it.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
about 50 here today, so we're good.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Awesome. Well, let's get this show started. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you do?
I'm a realtor. I sell houses. I help people buy houses. I help people sell houses, investment properties, all of the sorts.
Awesome. I like it. So back in the day, how did you get into real estate? Like, how did that happen?
I've done a little bit of everything in real estate. So I started as like an office manager in college, and then became like a leasing agent for that apartment that I lived in. I got a discount on my rent.
Oh, nice.
And then from there, I became an executive assistant to a realtor. And when he moved up to become broker of the company, he didn't really need an assistant anymore. And part of my training with him was to get my license. And so by the time I was no longer needed as his assistant, I had my license and I had to make that decision, like, jump or don't. And best decision ever.
That's awesome. I like it. So how'd that first transaction go when you're by yourself? Just went for it.
Nothing is ever easy. Nothing worth having is ever easy. But it was actually a high school friend of mine who bought with me. It's kind of funny. It was a great transaction when she purchased with me. And then later on, 3 or 4 years later, when she decided to sell, it became a whole chaotic bit. But like buying that first transaction, it was not terrible. I've had worse transactions.
That's good. That's good. So how'd you go from that not so good transaction to where you're at now these days?
Systems, I think, are really, really important to me. I hired a transaction coordinator who's actually a broker herself. Just managing my calendar is super important when you're juggling 8 or 9 clients. And then having people in my system that are smarter than me, right? Like, I'm really good at what I do, but I have a really, really great photography company, and I have a really, really great title company, and I have a really, really great lender. And by like everybody being really great at what they do, the entire process becomes better for the client.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you said that you kind of had a big amount of your past jobs were in real estate, right? So you had the background of all of those leading up to what you do currently. When you made that transition over into being a real estate agent, did you get advice that stuck with you that really helped you that first year?
The biggest piece of advice is to save that money. In real estate, you only get paid once everybody else gets paid, and you're self-employed on top of it, meaning there's no salary, right? You, if you don't have any closings, you don't have any money. So that was the biggest change from being like a property manager into being a realtor, and having to have a very tight budget, and be able to predict, to be able to work my sphere so that I always have a couple clients that are kind of looking, a couple clients that are hardcore looking, a couple clients that have an AO, and a couple clients that have just closed. So that way I keep this like wheel going.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're always doing something, right?
Absolutely.
What is the worst property that you have been to, or the worst showing? What one sticks out the most?
Okay, so the first thing that popped in my head is one time I was doing a showing and I dropped the key in between like 2 slats in the wooden deck.
Oh no.
Traumatizing. But like the worst house, honestly, I mean, I'm a pretty big stickler for inspections. I'm a pretty big stickler for like protecting this asset. This is an asset that most people, this is the biggest thing they'll ever own in their life. So if I can tell from the pictures and the real estate condition report and like general knowledge of when the house was built, things like that, that this is going to be like a terrible, terrible house, like let's just skip it. Also, technology with Matterport these days, you can truly walk homes without actually having to go inside. I really do my best to like avoid wasting everybody's time. So if it looks like it's going to be a total dumpster dive, like let's just move on.
I have a question going back to the key. Did you unlock the door before you dropped it?
Yep. It was when
good.
I was
Okay.
out and I was trying to leave.
Okay.
Oh,
so that makes it a little better.
But you can't like leave a house unlocked. So I had to like call the agent,
right.
And then I had to like, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And it was so embarrassing, right? My clients are standing there looking at me and I'm just like staring at the ground. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, you can't really get it. I mean, if it's all blocked off underneath that deck part, then it's just gone. They're going to find it years later. What kind of goals do you have in place that you want to accomplish in 2022?
So my goal for 2021 was consistency. So what I was talking about earlier, as far as like, 2 years ago, I had one closing in January and then I had 15 closings between July and October. And that is not a healthy way to live. I don't care how much budgeting skills you have, like that is not a good way to be. So my 2021 goal was to be super consistent and to at least have 2 closings a month. And I have accomplished 11 months of that. So I'm super proud. And in 2022, I am intending on getting my broker's license. So I'm in school now, taking that course. It's kind of mind numbing, but like, it's good to always like, continuing to learn. And I think that I can probably do 7 million in sales volume before having to add to my team. So maybe in 2023, I'll be looking at adding a buyer's agent to the team. But for 2022, keeping those structures, about 7 million in sales would be a good place for me, I think, and finishing up my broker's license.
That's
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are really good goals, and congrats on keeping that consistency going all this year. That's awesome that you were able to do that.
Thank you. It's all about working that sphere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's say you had to start all over today with all the knowledge you had now. What is one thing you would change?
Probably my brokerage that I started with. I think I am totally enamored with where I am now. I love my team. I didn't realize back then how much my broker impacted my business. Not just, people talk about commission and splits and all of, transaction fees. But for me, it was really personality. And I wanted, my current broker is aligned with me 100% on who we want to be, our morals and our ethics.
Awesome. That's awesome. And what's your favorite book you've read?
I am a huge reader. I'm a huge reader. That is a very loaded question. I think one of my favorites is A Thousand Splendid Suns. It's by the same author of The Kite Runner. And I won't give any secrets, but the last chapter is absolutely mind-blowing when you hear about the stories that are happening in other countries and just comparing that to how privileged and how lucky we are to have the things that we have here.
That's awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of you?
Email, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. Teran Peterson at gmail.com. sunprairierealtor.com is my website, and Facebook, Teran Peterson with Real Brokers.
Sweet. Well, awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on and sharing your story with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Are these working?
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe? What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button. Like
It might be there.
might be right there too.
Somewhere.
Find
it. It's red.
Yeah, and it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them also give us a 5-star review for listening to on Apple. That'd be cool.
5 stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
But-
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.
Yeah.